In the world of traditional poultry breeding, some bloodlines rise quietly. Not because of hype or popularity, but because of consistency, adaptability, and breeder trust. One of these lesser talked about yet respected lines is known as the Toppy Gamefowl bloodline. But where did this bloodline really come from? Was it a carefully planned breeding program, or simply the result of years of observation and selection? Today, we will explore the origin, development, traits, and legacy of the Toppy bloodline in a transparent and educational way that helps both beginners and experienced breeders understand its true place in breeding history. Before we talk about Toppy specifically, we must first understand what breeders mean when they say bloodline. A bloodline is not just a name or label. It represents a history of selective breeding, where certain physical traits, behavioral tendencies, and adaptability features are preserved over generations. Responsible breeders focus on structure and balance, natural movement and energy, health resilience, reproductive consistency, environmental adaptability. The Toppy bloodline developed within this traditional framework, slowly shaped by observation rather than instant recognition. Historical accounts suggest that the Toppy line emerged from backyard and small yard breeding programs, where breeders aimed to combine functional structure with reliable temperament. Instead of pursuing extreme features, breeders who worked with early Toppy birds prioritized stable body conformation, alert but manageable disposition, consistent feather quality, strong survival instincts. In many cases, these birds were not initially recognized as a separate bloodline. They were simply considered good breeding stock. Over time, as breeders began noticing recurring patterns in offspring, the idea of a distinct Toppy family of birds started to form. Unlike some bloodlines named after famous breeders or geographic locations, the exact origin of the name Toppy remains a topic of discussion among poultry enthusiasts. Some believe it may have been connected to a breeder nickname, a local yard reference, or even a distinctive physical feature observed in early birds. What matters more than the name itself is the fact that breeders began to associate the label with reliability. Recognition of the bloodline did not happen overnight. It spread through breeder-to-breeder exchanges, word of mouth, and practical results seen in multi-generation breeding. While variation always exists in any breeding program, many breeders describe Toppy-type birds as having medium to slightly compact body frame, well-balanced posture, tight feathering, alert head carriage, efficient movement patterns. These features are not extreme. Instead, they reflect a philosophy of functional breeding over ornamental exaggeration. Such traits often appeal to breeders who value birds that can thrive in diverse backyard conditions. Temperament plays a major role in breeding decisions. Birds associated with the Toppy line are often described as observant, responsive to surroundings, energetic yet not overly nervous, capable of adapting to new environments. These behavioral tendencies can make management easier for breeders, especially beginners. However, temperament is also influenced by handling methods, housing conditions, nutrition, climate. Therefore, it is important to understand that no bloodline guarantees behavior outcomes. One reason the Toppy line gained quiet respect is its reported adaptability. Breeders working in different regions noted that these birds could adjust to changing weather patterns, varied feeding programs, different housing systems. Adaptability is often an overlooked trait in breeding discussions. Yet, It is one of the most valuable long-term qualities. Birds that maintain condition across environments are more likely to remain useful in breeding programs. Like many traditional lines, Toppy birds have been used in crossbreeding efforts. Breeders experimented with combining them with speed-oriented lines, size-oriented lines, endurance-focused families. The goal was usually to balance traits rather than dominate them. Successful crosses often required careful pairing, multi-generation evaluation, honest record-keeping. This process highlights an important truth. Breeding success rarely comes from a single pairing. It comes from sustained observation over time. Not all breeding programs remain consistent. Some challenges that affected the continuity of Toppy birds include lack of written breeding records, random mixing with unrelated lines, changing breeder priorities, loss of foundation stock. When structure and selection discipline weaken, even respected lines can lose identity. This is why experienced breeders emphasize program management over hype. Despite challenges, certain breeders made efforts to preserve recognizable Toppy characteristics. These efforts involved selecting birds that matched original structural goals, avoiding excessive outcrossing, maintaining small but focused breeding groups. Preservation is rarely about maintaining perfection. It is about maintaining direction. As long as breeders remain intentional, bloodlines can continue evolving while retaining their core identity. The story of the Toppy bloodline offers several valuable lessons. Bloodlines grow through patience, not shortcuts. Adaptability often matters more than appearance. Records and consistency protect breeding progress. Names alone do not define quality. For beginners, understanding these principles can prevent common mistakes such as over-reliance on labels, ignoring structural evaluation, expecting instant results. Breeding is a long-term commitment to observation and responsibility. Sometimes breeders confuse traits with bloodlines. A bird may show a desirable feature, but this does not automatically mean it represents a stable line. True bloodline identity becomes visible only after several generations repeated trait expression, consistent performance in varied conditions. This distinction is essential when evaluating birds associated with names like Toppy. Today, interest in traditional breeding history is growing again. Modern content creators, backyard breeders, and poultry enthusiasts are revisiting lesser-known lines to understand their contributions. The future of the Toppy bloodline will likely depend on documentation, responsible sharing of breeding stock, educational awareness, community collaboration. Bloodlines do not survive through nostalgia alone. They survive through purposeful continuation. The origin and history of the Toppy Gamefowl bloodline is not a story of sudden fame. It is a story of gradual recognition, built through breeder observation, adaptability, and practical usefulness. Whether this line remains widely known or quietly preserved, its legacy reminds us that true breeding progress is not about chasing trends. It is about building foundations that can stand the test of time. If you enjoy educational content about traditional poultry bloodlines, responsible breeding principles, and backyard management insights, consider subscribing to Chicken Matter Talks. And share this video with fellow poultry enthusiasts, because preserving knowledge is just as important as preserving bloodlines.